Thailand or Thailand?
Thailand, I assume.
Thailand.
I think it's Thailand, isn't it?
Is
I
it?
think, yeah,
Iceland or Iceland?
Iceland.
Greenland or Greenland?
Greenland. Ireland. England.
Yeah.
Come on.
There we go.
The land of the Engs.
Yeah, decided.
Yeah, finally.
I hadn't thought about it.
So I'm so happy to see those Engs get a land.
I hadn't thought about it. England.
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 Land of Engs.
Land of Ings.
And that, of course, is where Stan is. Stan is land of. It's I think it's Pashtun, land of. So Kazakhstan is land of the Kazakhs.
Pakistan or Pakistan?
Well, no. So Pakistan is one of the few stans where it's not a specific cultural group name.
Yeah, I don't care about that, Ollie. I'm talking about how to pronounce the word. Afghanistan or Afghanistan?
Land of the pure, listener.
Afghanistan or Afghanistan?
Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Kazakhstan. Made stone. Everyone knows that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Short Fuse. I'm Duncan Roberts, and I'm here with Oliver O'Donoghue. Say hi, Ollie.
Hi, Ollie.
Oh, come on, you can do that.
See what I did there? That's genius.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
And I think that's what I bring to this. I keep the audience guessing.
I know, but, well, no, it's either you say hi or you say hi, Ollie. Like,
I haven't done that before, have I?
I think you have.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well... they're guessing it's a binary guess. It's a 50-50 chance.
Yeah. Well, but sometimes you want predictable chaos, don't you?
I mean, I wouldn't call that chaos, but all right, whatever floats your boat.
Chaotic.
To you, it's chaos. Anything other than the
my heart's a flutter.
It could go either way.
I don't know what to think.
All right, hi everybody. We're Short Fuse. I'm Duncan, and this is Ollie, and we are here to talk about things, subjects, technologies, anything really, and then we will vote on them, whether we are long or short, and then we'll have a discussion, and then we will see if either of us has changed our opinions, or we might just forget to do that. So we'll wait and see what happens today. Today, we're going to do a slightly wide-ranging subject called the future. So whether we believe the future is going to be bleak or exist at all, in fact. And also how we might go about predicting the future. I think that's probably going to come up in conversations. So, Ollie, get your crystal ball out and tell me, are you long or short on the future? All right, that's a good start.
Is the question genuinely whether or not I think the future will exist?
Well,
conceptually.
I mean, like, you know, for us, for people, for society, for as it goes, you know, how do you feel about the future more generally?
I'm sure it'll exist. I'm sure.
But do you feel positive about it or not?
No, we go through this every time. I don't really feel positive and negative about anything, do I? I don't. I don't. But I
well,
don't.
you do feel negative about most things.
Yeah, but one person's good future is another person's bad future, or
stop
almost.
Trying to weasel out the question.
Oh, I'm massively weaseling out of it, like every episode. Once again, consistency for the audience.
Okay, right. So let's talk about what we mean here. And I'm going to say, well, I feel pretty short on the future at the moment. I don't know about you. I feel a bit concerned, a bit worried.
It's because you're aged.
It is because
so you're tipping. It's tipping against you. The younger generations, they're coming in with their TikToks and their influencers.
It's true.
You know,
I think even that's pretty passé these days. TikTok and influencers.
Do you think so? Do you think is that me showing my millennial roots?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, talk about influencers. What are they doing now then to make money?
We wouldn't know, would we? We wouldn't. Creating AI versions of themselves, maybe.
Do you think they're at this stage? Because everything generally, this is why I'm not that fussed either way. Because everything's kind of quite cyclical. Do you reckon right now they're just like, I just want to work in a factory for 40 years, do a solid 8-hour shift, and then have a couple of beers at the pub? Because there is that simple living buzz at the moment. People are talking a lot about.
Yeah, people want to go and live in the woods, and
not contribute to our manufacturing output. How selfish.
Yeah. But, I mean, it is pretty easy to feel quite bleak about the future at the moment, isn't it? But actually, we're in a good place. Do you think?
I think we're personally in a good place.
Yeah, I mean, but still, it's pretty easy to look back from my kind of gilded castle and look at the state of the world and kind of go, "Oh, you poor ruffians! What a
I think.
terrible time it is."
I mean, there are a couple of good books on this, aren't there? That talk about, your starvation is significantly less likely to take place, and wars, which is a ludicrous thing to say given everything that's going on, but large scale wars are significantly less likely. Murder apparently is significantly less likely. But I don't really buy into the idea that the future will be good or bad, because I think for some people, people who really like murdering, they're like, "Oh, this future's a nightmare. I'll get caught." Much preferred it if I could, this sucks, man. I wish I was.
But so in terms of kind of like our, techno oligarchy that we're living through at the moment, where technology is king. How do you feel about where technology is taking us as a species? I was thinking about this the other day because and this is absurd, but this is how my brain works. I was looking at LinkedIn, one of our favorite topics to talk about, and it was talking about recruitment. And they were saying, recruiters use AI to screen CVs, and they have done for a long time, and look at keywords. And there's this whole kind of automated process. But now recruitees are kind of fighting back because they're just automating the process of applying for jobs, because they can use generative AI to create the cover letter and to scan for keywords and create their CVs. So you have this weird thing where automation is speaking to automation, and there's this kind of, robots talking to other robots, and no actual human interaction going on in this recruitment process. And it made me think of our conversation the other day about LinkedIn, where somebody put a canned response saying happy birthday in, and I just sent a canned response back. And it made me think of agent to agent communications and how it's all just robots kind of speaking to each other while us humans just get on with our day-to-day lives.
Yeah. But it's just a layer. That's a layer of complexity. Let's say for the candidate using automation, the recruiters using automation, that's just fog of nonsense, really, because all that'll happen is more value will be placed on the actual interview between a person and a person, because that's the only medium of real exchange. Like, "Hey, Duncan, tell me about your experience." The bot says you're qualified, but you tell me, because I actually have 5 people that the bot says are qualified.
But do you think this kind of this automation future that we're going to in certain contexts, like the recruitment, will just mean that that's completely null and void, and we'll have to go back to square one, where they're like, "Well, you can't use AI, and if you don't use AI, we promise not to use AI ourselves. We promise not to automate it. So handwrite your CV with quill and ink, send it via carrier pigeon, and we'll review it forthwith."
I think that's quite possible. I mean, two things will happen. The first one is there'll be a bigger point around your ability to differentiate. 1 second. I'm just going to close the door. One of my neighbours was on a ladder, just kind of looking over at me, and I'm quite defensive. I thought, right, hang on. So say that one again. Say that again.
Can't remember.
I can start.
Yeah, just start.
I think one of two things will happen. The first one is it'll be more noticeable for you as a candidate, let's say in this context, to differentiate yourself by not being automated, right? So you see that all the time. There are some people that go viral where they just stand outside the office they want to work in, where the bank is, with a big sign that's their CV, and it's they're the only person that's done that.
Yeah.
Out of thousands of people who have used the formal process of applying via a bot and get streamed out because their keywords don't match. So I think that'll happen more and more as a balancing act. And we've talked about it, from a marketing point of view. If you have an agent acting on your behalf, Duncan, I think the last one, the example was a red Ferrari cab, and you have your agent going out and looking for it. In terms of proactive marketing in that world, probably the best thing for me to do is to drop a leaflet around your house.
Yeah, well, we spoke about the rise of jingles again. Whoever can make the catchiest jingle.
Jingles, right? I think that will. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like radio marketing might come back in because our consumption of content will be what we go to places like the internet for, rather than browsing, because our bots are doing the browsing on our behalf.
Well, I wonder if there's this whole kind of concept of ambient computing, and I wonder if the future where technology becomes, and this might be a bit more of a hopeful view, where technology kind of fades into the background and becomes ambient and it's just around us, and we engage with it through speaking, through seeing, through whatever, that brings a bit more of human connection back. Who knows? That might be too optimistic.
I think that's again where companies would do. So you've got the candidate differentiating themselves. What about recruiters differentiating themselves and saying to you as a business, like, hey, look, we don't actually do bots. We will interview in person every single candidate we put forward, the old-fashioned way, in our office. And candidates will prefer that because they get to speak to us and we'll find the right person for you. And I would expect to see the same in every other business, really.
And product differentiation. Like, it's not just recruiting a recruiter, it's just differentiating yourself as an organization, as a person, as a friend, as a potential partner or whatever,
And that'll come through, because we did that research a couple of years ago that had some quite bleak findings, right? If taken in their purest theoretical form, which is, hey, look, there are a lot of jobs that are in real trouble, and huge swathes of the labour market could be in significant trouble. But that's happened before, and that's often replaced by leisure, because we'll want to do something. Let's say you have more leisure time because productivity increases. So you've gone effectively the modern equivalent of going from a 12-hour workday to an 8-hour workday. You have 4 hours of extra leisure. You'll want to spend that probably in high quality leisure situation. So some of that will be like Netflix, right? Which is genuinely a high quality.
I always want to spend my time in high quality leisure situations.
I saw your face the second. Nothing is sacred here. But like, what I mean by that is like in a restaurant, like a nice restaurant where like the service is really great, rather than like, oh, my bot is going to order me a sandwich and force me to eat it.
It's going to get me a meal deal.
Yeah. So the employment will shift away from like, data entry to leisure, like the idea that, hey, there'll be more artists, more people creating content for Netflix and whatever is incredibly likely, because we're not going to live in a world where humans go, oh, well, I'll just stay indoors and do absolutely nothing.
Well, that's a hopeful view. That's a very hopeful view. So that's made me feel a little bit more positive about the future, Ollie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For helping me out.
End the podcast there.
Yeah, no, but I want to talk about how we kind of envisage that future and how we go about figuring out what it's going to look like. Because part of that is our job, right? Is to look at what's going on today and try and cast a line out and think about what's going to happen in the future. Which leads me to...
It's the part of our job that you really like and the one that I desperately avoid.
Well, like, why do you desperately avoid it?
Because it's hard to do, I think.
Yeah,
that's the main reason.
There are ways of doing it, and it's something that we talk about a lot is strategic foresight, those kind of methodologies for kind of glimpsing the future. What do you think about strategic foresight?
I think the part I struggle with anything like this is it came from a time when things moved much more slowly, including just the flow of information. So think of like like the reports you would get. Let's say you run a global business, you're a bank. The amount of reports you would get from your operations in Taiwan, let's say coming into the London office for you to make a decision, would be very gradual. And you'd have maybe you'd have a meeting, you might have one a quarter, and you'd make your decisions then, right? So strategic foresight off the back of that, where you have 3 months of breathing space to make a decision and then see what the impact is, sort of makes sense. So you can horizon scan much further and kind of exact change. Right now, the game changes on a minute by minute basis for most organizations. It really does.
I mean, I think I've kind of sold myself up the Swanee River a little bit by saying it's about looking into the future when actually it's not really. It's the clue's in the name. It's how do you kind of look at what might happen going forward and then plan for it and just kind of mitigating risks. But I think it's almost been co-opted by people kind of go, oh, we're moving into the age of quantum. We're moving into the age of crypto, and it just doesn't mean anything. Whereas I think if you do it properly, having a methodology for interrogating your sources, finding your sources and kind of interpreting them is extremely valuable. But that's not going to give you a crystal ball into the future so that you can say, oh, I'm a futurist. This is what the future is going to look like. And we're now moving into the age of AI. Oh, thanks very much. What do I do with that?
I think the real challenge is exactly that, right? So it's contextualizing the data you have now. So that, hey, here is our organization. Here are our strengths. Here's where our competitors sit. Here are the markets we're in. And then on a minute by minute basis, also contextualizing the insane amounts of data and change that happens. But then also stacking that up to be like, okay, here's what the next 10 years will bring.
Yeah.
Which, like I say, when things were moving much slower, and you were like, okay, so we'll have a new president in 4 years' time. That could bring the following policy changes.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? There are leaders of countries now that wake up in the morning and just change their mind.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just one. That's actually an incredibly predictable one. So like, okay, well, this person here is like a human black swan, effectively. So we'll have to correct for that. Who knows what's thrown out there. But then you have companies like OpenAI being like, okay, we've just done this thing. We've just released this new thing.
Shadow dropped a new thing. Yeah. And that could happen. We feel like we're in a point in time where a company can kind of emerge from stealth at any time and just blow everything up.
Yeah, the bit that I find reassuring, again, for me, it's just like it's the counterbalance of this whole. I don't want to say grift because I know there are some very talented people that do it and they get it right, but it is this kind of market of just like, hey, we can crystal ball this for you, and you just definitely can't. You definitely can't. You might be able to say like, hey, of the 12,000 things you should worry about, look at these 4. Like that's probably quite helpful. Right, I think that's the type of strategic foresight that's useful. Hey, we've scenario planned these 4 things for you, but there are actually 12,000 things that might happen. I can remember when I was doing some work for a consultancy, and we were in Eastern Europe, and part of their plan was to prepare for Russian invasion.
Yeah,
and this is an IT company, and they're like, so we've got data centers here, and we have to be careful because the Russians might invade. And take and take over those data centers or blow them up or something like that. And at the time, this would have been about 15 years ago. A lot of us found that not necessarily funny, but just like, really, that's number one. That's number one, right? That's 15 years ago, and those guys were spot on. Let's put that, they were absolutely spot on. But all of the people in the room, including some very, very, very talented analysts, very talented, people knew the region well, were just like, what? No, come on. Your biggest risk is probably climate change, or flooding or something like that. But really, they were probably right, just over a different time frame. And for me, that's just such a classic example of how even when you are looking at some very specific stimuli for what could change the nature of what you do over the next 10 to 15 years, it's still very difficult to get right.
Well, quite. It just crossed my mind. Have you seen the kind of the nothing ever happens meme?
I don't think so.
Well, it's more of a kind of just a kind of a mindset. It's the opposite of the. I send the "it's happening" GIF all the time to you when I see something that kind of backs up some kind of ludicrous prediction that I've made in the past. I'll send you the man with kind of fireworks behind him waving his hands going, it's happening. But then there's the nothing ever happens meme, which is just despite what's going on in the world, everything's all kind of stays the same. And even if you have these kind of like massive world events like COVID-19, for example, which had the potential to kind of structurally change the world, here we are 5 years later. It's not really that much different, is it?
Well, humans are creatures of habit and don't like change. So that social and economic inertia makes it so stuff doesn't happen a lot of the time, or doesn't happen at pace. So like you could have, there was, I can remember, and this is the nature of our business, right? And there's always a thing. So I can remember when me and you first spoke, I think it was the metaverse that was, and it genuinely was changing the way people were interacting. It had all this promise. And then after a while, people are like, oh, the VR headset's a bit uncomfortable, and actually it's just easier for me to meet my mate at the pub. And that was that. It was really kind of that.
The equivalent is like, oh, COVID-19. Oh, look, it's really great for the environment. Rivers are running clear, and we're all working from home. Look at this kind of utopian lifestyle. That obviously this horrifically tragic event happened, and was awful in lots of other ways, but like people were looking at the positives and going like, this could actually be really beneficial. And no, back to the office, back to burning coal, all of these kind of things. It feels like it's just this blip rather than something that's actually manifestly changed everything.
It's a great example because there was this big trend during the first kind of lockdown phase, I think we'll call it, where it's like,
also,
look, nature is
the weather
healing.
was great during that first lockdown.
That helped.
So everybody kind of felt, oh, look.
In the UK, we should say. I don't know if it was great everywhere, but it genuinely was amazing in the UK. It was like one of the nicest summers. Like, it was just the perfect temperature for British people to to thrive. And there was that whole, when there dolphins in the Thames and stuff like that, it was just this crazy, like, oh, the world is healing. And then the same people via social media who were like, oh my God, I'm taking a vow, we'll never go back. Then immediately steered into the travel boom. Yeah. Like, I'm doing, for £40, I can fly to Paris and have a croissant for breakfast rather than go to Tesco's and get one. So that's what I've done today. People just go back to bad or good habits as quickly as they possibly can.
I mean, in fact, the only thing that's really stuck around since then is inflation. So,
right. Yeah.
Happy days.
Thank God, some consistency, which in itself is inconsistent because it's just the increase of prices. It's changing pricing.
God look at that. We've gone right back to the beginning about consistency, haven't we?
Yeah.
You being a creature of habit, Ollie.
Well, I'm not. I think most people are. I think there's the idea. Anytime anyone says like, "Oh my God, everything's going to change," no, it probably won't. But at the same time,
nothing ever happens.
But your ability to decide which vector of change is going to be the most impactful out of the millions that you now see, because I think that's the problem for me. I genuinely think if you let's say the 1930s, 1920s, something like that, with the gradual inflow of information, you probably could have said like, okay, with all of our chips down here, I think these are the 5 things we should worry about. And there'll be a few black swan events, a couple of notable ones in the 30s, of course.
Just a couple.
But just a couple. As a historian, you look back on and think like, well, that was probably an obvious one, actually. I probably could have scenario planned the hell out of that one. But like, here are the 5 things out of the 100 that we're hearing from the news and from all of our signals. But now there's just so many that you're actually at risk of taking the snake oil and saying, okay, well, look, we've done some strategic foresight and we think AI is going to be our biggest thing, and we're going to spend all of our energy focusing on that as a vector of change in our strategic foresight. And then a new, let's say quantum just turns up, and it's like, okay, we actually don't need your drug discovery department at all now.
I think that I was just thinking that as you were speaking, it's actually relatively myopic because you're looking at just one technology, and how that's going to affect everything. And with so much of the chat, it feels like. And going back to the metaverse as well, it feels like at the time everybody was just like, "Oh, right, I'm into emerging tech, so I've got to speak about the metaverse. I've got to be a metaverse expert." And then you have that, Homer Simpson meme going into the hedge as a metaverse expert and coming out as a Gen AI expert, And so even though there is so much going on, and I agree with you, and there's so many sources of information, is still relatively myopic and kind of got the blinkers on because it's only really looking at, well, a lot of people are only really looking at one thing or how one aspect of technology is changing everything.
Well, isn't because we're in this space, and I think that's what makes it the most interesting is we are called upon by a lot of people to bring out a crystal ball. And our experience, I don't necessarily know it would be the experience of everyone in this business, but our experience is exactly that, isn't it? It's like, okay, we only really want to talk to you about blockchain now.
Yeah.
And then 6 months to a year later, they'll be like, oh, blockchain? Who wants to talk about that? We're all about the metaverse.
Yeah.
And then a year later, and it's often the same people that are just constantly trading in their coat for a new, getting a new one. It's like, okay, well, it's just the AI. And we have to respond to that demand.
Yeah.
Like going, well, okay, we're going to do loads of research into AI then and figure out what that looks like. And in the meantime, there's like 5,000 other things going on.
Yeah. I wonder what that thing is that's going to pop up out of the distance. Maybe we'll look for some weak signals on that and hopefully feel quite hopeful about it.
In the technology space, do you mean?
Well, just
like
generally.
A new technology. It's difficult, isn't it? There's, I mean, someone did a really good post. I think they're like an AI, but they said any any event they go to where AI and quantum are on the same slide, you know immediately this person doesn't know what they're talking about. And I kind of agree. I couldn't agree with that more, because we have that discussion all the time, don't we? We can be presenting on AI, which we have a body of work covering and a lot of thoughts, and someone say like, "And what does this mean for quantum?" So, well, absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Well, I still think that actually the wisest way to look at it is not through that myopic view, and look at what those issues are and what problems you have and what things could be solved and what things could be changed, and then look at a combination of different things to solve those problems, be that technology, be that different types of technology, be that organizational changes, be that societal changes, and then work towards that. But, I think that's an interesting way to go about it.
Here's a really interesting parallel, or well, not an interesting parallel, but a parallel nonetheless,
right?
That's worth thinking about. And there's a good book on this that I'm about halfway through, and I can't actually remember its name. But one of the biggest, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm riveted to the point where I didn't even bother looking at the cover. One of the areas of significant global investment is predicting the weather.
Yeah,
huge amounts of data collected. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest areas for things like IoT investment. Just loads of signals being gathered all the time. AI being used. Every kind of technology we can throw at it. How often is the weather right these days?
I mean, I feel like it's a lot better than it was, but still,
it's getting better. Yeah, 100% getting better. But the amount of times where it's like, oh no, a cold blast has come from the north, and you may have bought loads of stuff for a barbecue, but you're going to be indoors most of the weekend.
I mean, my reaction to it's going to rain next Thursday is probably change.
Right. Yeah, and it almost always does. It almost always does. So that's an area where, as a species, in effect, right, we have all, whether or not directly, but we've all gathered around. Maybe this might be a British thing. If you're not in Britain, do dial in, and tell us whether or not you care about the weather as much as we do. But globally, we care a tremendous amount, and in some areas, weather is like life or death. Right, over here, it's like, can I have friends round for the weekend, sit in the garden, or will I have to get another chair?
Do I have something to talk about with people awkwardly in the lift because I don't have anything else to discuss?
Always, without fail. Because even if the weather's not doing anything, that's the comment, isn't it?
That's the comment, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh god, nothing's going on out there today.
Or you just bring up like, weather's not what I was expecting. I didn't dress appropriately.
Well, that's actually the cheat sheet for anyone who's not British. Is even if you do know what the weather's doing, pretend you don't.
Yeah,
pretend you don't. But like, oh God, it always throws a curveball, doesn't it? And it doesn't matter if it's exactly what it's
tomorrow.
Yeah. But anyway, that's an area where we have genuinely cooperated to try and throw every tool and technology at it, and we still can't quite do it that well. So when you think about the small strategic foresight teams in most organizations, governments, whatever, who are kind of just scouring vast amounts of data, throwing AI at it, no doubt, and coming back with, things are going to be different in the future, we bet. How much value should you really place on that?
And that's not to do it down, because I think it's incredibly valuable, and as like you say, there's a lot of smart people doing great things, but it's just how hard it is to actually get something meaningful and say, right, this is going to happen in 5-10 years time.
Yeah, I mean that's my point. It's difficult. I'm not being dismissive of the people that do it, because we do it.
Yeah, but also
I daren't be dismissive.
You've said it yourself, and this is totally true. If you say, I reckon this is what this will look like in 5 years, or this was what it will look like in 10 years, who's going to remember that you said that in 5 years? You can go, I actually meant this.
Yeah, you'll notice that I'm a sucker for the 10-year timeline. Because it's just like, well, I'm just hoping to God something else would have happened by then. Because you can, in 10 years' time, be like, well, of course we didn't model for these 5 events, because how would we have known? That's manifestly changed the nature of the game. Whereas a 1 year, Jesus, those guys are
you're going to be in trouble.
But they're the people that tend to do this strategic foresight stuff, relatively well, because they know what their organization is trying to achieve, so they can whittle it down. For me, it's more the horizon scanning, the naked horizon scanning that some people are expected to do. I think, how can you even try?
So tell me, Ollie, while we wrap this up, 10 years time, flying cars?
No. How would you police flying cars when you think about it?
I don't know. They'd be drones, wouldn't they? At this rate,
but it's an absolute nightmare. That would genuinely be an absolute nightmare, because you'd need I mean, maybe they're like, oh, AI will do it. I guess we need driverless cars first. That means you could have people flying at different altitudes, but it would be utter anarchy. And also, like, how do I won't want them flying over my house and blocking out the sun and stuff like that. So how do you do it? Like, it's not something that society will accept willingly.
Yeah, flying cars, man. How would you police it? Imagine having a small, like, bump, like being rear-ended in a flying car. That would be exponentially worse than if you're on the ground, wouldn't it?
But it's more the, like, in a heavily, imagine this, right? You're sitting in your garden. How many cars are going to be flying across your garden?
I imagine they'd stick to prescribed routes. They'd stick to prescribed routes.
So then you might get like. So really, it's a very carbon intensive multi-tier road that you're describing.
Yeah, except it's in the sky,
How's that better?
It's cooler. Well, it's
How's
cooler.
That better than a train?
Oh, shush now. Put a what about a monorail? A monorail's better than a train because it's cooler.
A monorail is just a train, but for, like, Epcot.
Yeah, but
that's all that is. It's a train.
I don't even know where we're going with this.
It's
now.
A one-railed train, Duncan.
Yeah, I mean, I always think the DLR in Southeast London is the future because there's no drivers and you can sit at the front and pretend you're driving. So. If the future's like that, I will be a happy man.
Yeah, if that's not what we're doing in 10 years' time, then count me out.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. Oh, Ollie, how do you feel after that discussion? Long or short on the future? Have you formed an opinion?
I'm still long, just on the technicality that I believe there will be a future.
All right, well, I'm feeling ever so slightly more hopeful about the future, and I'm sure at 3 a.m. I will wake up in the pitch black, have an existential crisis, and feel quite bad about it again. But for now, feeling good.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks everybody for listening. See you soon.
Cheerio.